Was there ever a doubt? Honestly, was there ever a doubt that Georgia was not going to finish with the #1 recruiting class in 2024? And I get it. Hindsight's 2020. You want to keep a player like Dylan Raiola just to strengthen your odds. But when you're able to flip a kid like KJ Bolden at the last second, I think you make up for it. Let's talk about Georgia's #1 recruiting class during early signing period. If you are new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. So if this is the type of content you enjoy, plus anything going on with coaching searches, the transfer portal, bowl eligibility, and a bunch of other nonsense that we call in our crazy sport, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on Georgia's future in a brand new version of the SEC. Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, college football aficionados, and Georgia Bulldogs fans everywhere about this channel, because we've already surpassed 1,000 subscribers. Thank you in advance for that. But now we're in the race for 5,000. And then 5,000 turns into 25,000. And 25,000 turns into 100,000. And ladies and gentlemen, I think you know we're going to get there. So jump on in while the water's fine. Give me a follow on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. That way, the conversation of college football never has to stop flowing. Georgia. Going into the day, many people thought at the last second they would lose that #1 spot because Alabama's Alabama. They're the tyrant dynasty that terrorizes everybody in the SEC. And until Nick Saban's pushing up daisies or at least sitting on his house at Lake Tuscaloosa eating a moon pie at 9:30 in the morning instead of at practice, Alabama's going to be a threat. Alabama will always be a threat. They are inevitable. They are Thanos. They are crocodiles. They have lived through the meteor and learned to survive. They adapt. But Georgia's on the come up. And I don't mean that in terms of, oh, well, now Georgia's just a powerhouse team. Everyone knows Georgia is a powerhouse team. They've been a powerhouse team for decades on end. But now we're putting them in the same category as Alabama. Alabama may win the national title this year, but Kirby Smart's been to the college football playoffs back-to-back seasons with exceptional recruiting classes and the ability to develop talent at an elite level. I wonder where he learned that from. Sometimes taking a page out of the old coach's book pays in your favor, and then you actually enhance it and build it even better than you could have imagined from the get-go. That's what Kirby Smart's done. You lose a Dylan Raiola. It was going to happen. I think everybody kind of figured out in the last couple seconds, Raiola was going to Nebraska. Family ties, the ability to start right away, Carson Beck coming back and singing a swan song for 2024 was just the nail in the coffin. But you land KJ Bolden. You land the #1 safety prospect in the nation. And more importantly, you take him away from maybe a potential rival. We know Florida State's not happy with the ACC. They have a meeting this weekend talking about what does our future entail with this conference? And more importantly, how do we get that SEC type of money? How do we get onto that side of the spectrum? That way we're never left out of the college football playoff. So now you're playing against a team in the Orange Bowl that was supposed to land KJ Bolden. Not anymore. He's going to Athens. He's going to be a part of something promising and something that is probably locked and loaded for the foreseeable future. This is exceptional. And in my opinion, because of what you have coming back with Carson Beck, because of what you have with young players like Gunnar Stockton, and also you still landed Ryan Puglisi out of Connecticut, a 4-star talent that's already been playing at a private school where football is second to none. He already understands what it's going to take to be successful at the collegiate level. This, in my opinion, only ups your class. Yeah, it would be great to have 2 quarterbacks to battle things through and figure out which one is the best option for us moving forward. But you land KJ Bolden. That's a plug-and-play starter at safety as soon as probably next season. Not to mention everything else that you brought in with this class. Like, everyone knows that Georgia was going to land premier talents, and they did. You get the #1 linebacker in the country in Justin Williams out of Conroe, Texas. You get Ellis Robinson, the #1 cornerback from the IMG Academy and the #2 player in the state of Florida. You land Chris Cole, another thumper linebacker, the 3rd best linebacker in the nation. Joseph Jonah Ajoyne, the number 10 defensive lineman. Nasir Johnson, another defensive lineman. Bold, built, and more importantly, playing in big-time schools in big-time states. Georgia, Texas, California, you're landing players that are going to be able to say, I know what it takes to win in the SEC because I played at the highest level at my high school stage. So if I do that, I'm already good. And by the way, you're really not going to trust Glenn Schumann, Will Muschamp, and Kirby Smart, who, by the way, still calls defensive plays, no matter how you see fit, to get defensive players to adapt to the SEC. You're out of your mind if you think that. That's like saying, I want ice cream, and instead, I'm going to take frozen yogurt. Like they're not the same. You know what you have in a guy like Kirby Smart and his ability to transform players into something promising. So while you lose out on Raiola, you get more talent. And the talent that's coming in wasn't coming cheap. It's a buy-in from the NIL collective, and more specifically, it's a buy-in from the leadership at the very top. That's the school president. That's athletic directors. That's everybody inside the building putting in the extra hours to land premier talent. And once you get that talent in, you just give it to Kirby Smart and he's going to say, I got you. And players see the proof of the concept. Every year, you watch a defense. Every year, Georgia just punches out first-round talent at defensive line, at linebacker, at cornerback, and they're starting to do so offensively. Plus, even though you don't get a guy like Raiola, Ryan's going to be able to learn underneath Carson Beck and maybe compete with Gunnar Stockton going into 2025. And if that happens, now you got a quarterback for at least 2 years, if not longer. So you put yourself in a great stage. Alabama's still going to be a viable threat in the SEC. No one's going to take that away from them. And you can now say, with the additions of Texas, what Oklahoma's been doing, fortifying their trench play, not to mention the transfer portal being kind and luxurious to Ole Miss, Missouri, Kentucky. These are teams that are going to hang around and at least make things more challenging going into 2024 and beyond. But Kirby Smart's going to get time to develop. Kirby Smart's going to get time to work hands on hands with these kids. And Kirby Smart's going to be able to mold them to exactly what he wants to punch out there on Saturdays when they take Sanford Stadium. They know better than anybody else in this country how to turn defensive talent into studs, into focal points, into names that we will be talking about as first-round picks 3 seasons from now. That's where Kirby Smart's at his best. And you landed some of the greatest. Number 1 cornerback, number 1 linebacker, number 1 safety, countless defensive linemen, not to mention chess pieces that can fill the void and nooks and crannies across the board. You're in a really good spot if you are Georgia this morning. And you have the number 1 recruiting class. You're right alongside Alabama. You're at this point crossed the threshold of being that other team in the SEC. Now, the future just holds, when does Georgia officially take over full time? Because it's going to happen sooner than you think. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.